So, hello and welcome, everyone. My name is Marilena Heinrich, for those who don't know me, and I am one of the coordinators of the Women's Informal Network. And I would like to warmly welcome you to this interactive workshop on crushing the imposter thinking. So if you're here, probably you know what we mean, but in this session today, we will learn what imposter thinking is, what causes it, what different types there are, and how it is holding us back, okay, in our career advancement or in our life, in achieving our objectives. And last but not least, how to deal with it, okay? So I have the immense pleasure to introduce one of our very own WIN coaches and a long-standing WIN member who will be facilitating this inspiring and interactive coaching session. And I'm talking about Sile O'Broin. Sile, to me, is really the example of a multi-potentialite. And if you don't know what it is, and I see Alessandra Bianca is nodding because she actually introduced me to this concept, which I fell in love with, and I'm going to share in the chat the hyperlink to a TED Talk that very well explains what multi-potentialites are. And I invite you not now to go and watch it because it was really like a light bulb going on for me. Anyway, Sile is a multi-potentialite. Basically, she has many, many different talents. And she is a licensed transformational coach. She's a fierce supporter of professional women and men, but mainly women, and helping them to master their mindset and to make a bigger impact without sacrificing their life or their freedom. And so her clients create extraordinary results so far by addressing the patterns of stress, fear, and comparison that stop their growth and stunt their lifestyle. She is based in Rome, and she coaches clients in English, in Italian, and in Spanish, but she also speaks French, and I don't know how many other zillion languages. And so she brings over 25 years of experience in Europe, Asia, Africa, and Latin America, and has held a multitude of communication roles in FAO, most recently, but also in the World Food Programme and in IFAD, which basically fueled her passion to support women to accelerate their careers, especially in the UN. And she's an avid reader. In fact, she's the coordinator of the WIN book club. And she is immersed in a non-fiction book a week. And so if you want to know about books, ask her as well. And on the weekends, you can find her either on a tennis court or dancing tango when she's not set or heading to the airport for flying somewhere to India for a retreat or to other places, and or running big conferences for women and inspiring the world. So this is about Sile. Let's take a deep breath, keep an open mind, be ready to share our thoughts openly through the chat, live, in our breakout groups, whatever Sile will bring to us. And with this, I would like to hand over to you, Sile. Welcome. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Marilena. And I'm really, really excited to be here and to welcome all of you. And what I want is this to be a really interactive session where we come away with at least one tool that we can use, going forward. So since I want this to be something that's very personal, this is not going to be a lesson in imposter syndrome or everything you ever wanted to know about that, but really how it relates to you in your life, okay? So I'd like to start by asking a few questions. And what I'd love you to do, if you feel so inclined, is to write in the chat either Y for yes, N for no, or S for sometimes. Because I think it would be very interesting to see if there are patterns that will emerge from all of us. The one thing about imposter syndrome is the feeling of being alone. And so by dispelling that, we can see how we can go forward. So let's start with these questions. So question number one, When you embark on a project, do you set high standards for yourself? Others might say impossibly high standards. So Y for yes, N for no, or S for sometimes.
So far, we only have 2 S's, 3 S's. All the rest is yeses.
Okay.
4, 5, okay, a few.
Okay. Do you replay past events, ruminating, obsessing over what you could have, should have said or done, living in the past? Do you get exhausted, have trouble sleeping, your mind never stops, and sometimes you can't think straight? Do you find that it takes you longer to do things because you doubt and second guess yourself? Are you living in the future, worrying about what could happen, what might happen, borrowing resources that generally never happen? Do you find yourself preparing so that you will be ready to be prepared to almost start, which has you preparing some more? Do you worry that if you don't have a handle on everything, that things will go wrong? And are there times where you don't feel good enough, deserving, or worthy, and you dismiss the successes that you've had because it's just been luck, and you're really waiting for people to find out that you don't really belong and that you're an imposter? Do you try to figure everything out on your own? And do you learn everything about the subject or the project, lest you get caught out on an issue that you don't know? And do you have an inkling that you are flirting with burnout? Okay. So there's quite a mix there, but there's quite a few yeses, sometimes, etc. So what I would love to do now is have a 15-minute breakout session where you discuss with your colleagues, introduce yourselves, say what you do, but you have 5 minutes each to just discuss what resonated most with you from these questions. And then we'll come back and we'll have 5 minutes rounding it up.
Okay. So I will be creating the breakout groups, okay? For those who have never experienced that, basically we will create a separate room for 3 people to go together and to share what Sheila asked us to share, okay? So a reflection on these questions. And when I create the breakout groups, you will be automatically and randomly assigned, okay? So please, everyone, join the group that you have been assigned to, because otherwise a person, if you're not joining or 2 people are not joining, then they may be on their own, you know, and that's not very nice. So I'm creating, oh, a few people dropped out, okay. So I'm going to create 10 breakout rooms. And you have 15 minutes, okay? You should have now a message saying that you can join the breakout group. Sanduka, if you could please also join. You're with Daniela and Veronique.
So, Marilena, did you give me?
Marilena.
Hi,
Hi, I'm actually walking and there's a lot of noise. So is it possible for me to just listen in? I think you can hear in the background, there's a lot of noise because I'm taking a walk.
Yeah. No, no, it's not a problem, but okay, then you're not going to.
But you can listen, but you can go into the breakout rooms and do.
Yeah.
It's
Okay.
important.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just let them
come
know.
back.
Just let them know that you
Okay.
will be listening, and then you will be with Daniela and
Okay.
Veronique. Okay.
Okay. All right. Okay. Thank you.
So do I have, am I able to share my screen? I'm just looking to see.
No.
I can share. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So then I have, how do I make it? There we go.
Hi, sorry, I came back because I was alone in my room.
Ah, okay.
Okay.
So I will be assigning you to a group then.
Thank you.
Also, maybe Ekaterina and Maine, I will put you together in a group, okay?
Okay.
Okay. How are we doing for time?
Main, they are now all twos.
They're all gone. Yeah.
There are 1, 2, 3, 4 groups of twos and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4 groups of 3, and then by accident I created one of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Ah, okay.
Not bad. I will leave it because otherwise it's
Yeah,
going in and out on Casino.
Yeah.
Time, we started, I think, 3 minutes ago, no? More or less.
Yeah.
5:45.
5:45.
Yeah, let's close it at 6.
Okay. You see, I changed the question somewhat. I took a few out. Yeah, you were right. A couple of them were very much the similar.
Chitra joined and Lily also joined. So I will assign them to groups.
Hi, Chitra. Hi, Lily.
Hi, Chitra.
Hi.
Hi. I will assign you to 2 different groups. We are doing a sort of exercise. Sheila presented some questions about the imposter syndrome thinking. So you can listen in and maybe provide your inputs, okay? And it's going to be until 6 o'clock, this breakout, okay?
Okay, great. Thanks, ciao.
Hey. Afshan, welcome.
Oh my God, we have nearly all the You Matter book authors. We have Daniela, Afshan, we have Wadzi, myself.
So Afshan, we're putting everyone in breakout groups because I asked a few questions and there were a lot of yeses and sometimes, and it's about discussing how it shows up and what those questions mean to you.
I will put you into the group with Chitra, okay? Please join the group. I'm putting all the latecomers together, okay? So that it's easier for you. Oh no, actually it's not because they didn't hear the questions.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hi, Maria. I just wanted to say I'm in Brazil and I'm gonna have lunch at the same time because I haven't eaten yet.
Enjoy your lunch.
I'm not gonna be able to be super active, but I really wanted to listen also to the discussions and everything.
Yeah.
Okay.
Very welcome, Mina.
Thank you so much.
Okay. And then we have Sprague Ginsan. Hello.
Hi. Sanjalika Spraggins from New York. So I'm joining from New York.
Hello.
Welcome.
Yeah, nice to meet you guys.
Nice to see you. I will be assigning you to a group where there are 2 people, and then you just listen in, okay?
Sounds good.
Okay.
Thank you.
I think Afshan also needs to be put in a group, and Nina as well.
Yeah, I only figured later that Chitra and you. Exactly. I'm sorry for that.
Okay.
I thought that as latecomers, it would be better to put you together, but then you didn't know what the questions were. So we'll put you into another group, okay? Where are you now? Okay. Group 8. Chitra will go to group 7. Okay. Did you get the message to join group 7 and group 8? Yeah. Eight more minutes left.
Okay.
You may want to send a message.
Yeah, just yeah, there's no way of getting feedback from them, you know, to say, are you finished or how is things going?
We can go into the chat rooms.
Okay.
Do you want to go?
I don't know how to do that.
I'll do it.
Okay.
I will send you to the one that is the most populated one with 5 people.
Okay.
Just have to join. Hello, Melissa. Hello, Diana. Can you hear me?
Hi, yes, I can.
Hi. Were you in a group before and did you drop out or did you just join?
I was in the group, but I enter and I heard nothing, so I just, disconnected.
Okay, but were you here before? I mean, did you hear the instructions and the groups?
Oh, no, sorry. I did
Okay.
not.
Melissa, can you hear me?
Yes, now I can hear you. Sorry, I joined late.
Okay, no problem. And also Kiki, welcome. So basically, we have 3 more minutes, so I don't think that there is a point in sending you to the breakout groups. What we did at the beginning was that our coach shared some questions about the imposter thinking. And yeah, so Kiki, I'm explaining. Okay, so the question we were supposed to put into the chat, yes or no, if we have that type of thinking and if those things happen to us. By the way, if you can turn on your cameras, that would be brilliant, because otherwise I'm just looking at names and this is a networking event. So we should be really getting to know each other, right? Okay, brilliant. Nice to see you. And so the coach, she asked us a few questions and we were supposed to say yes or no or sometimes. And that was really just to get into the thinking, okay, what attitudes or what thoughts do I have, or what do I do on a regular basis? For example, preparing and studying everything about a topic that we don't know, or, feeling inappropriate at times in our job, even though we are experts in it, or, other things that may hold us back, and attitudes that we may have. And so now in the breakout groups, we have created groups with 3 people each. And they are discussing, what feedback, what their sense was about those questions. And then as soon as we finish at 6 o'clock Rome time, basically we will get back in plenary, discuss all together, and then we will go into the actual presentation by Sheila about what is the imposter syndrome, what are the different aspects of it, what different types exist, and we will for sure all of us identify ourselves with one or the other type, or maybe more than one. And then we will also see how to get over it, or deal with the imposter syndrome. So just a summary of the introduction. Okay, so I'm going to close all rooms now, and then you will see people popping up here in the main plenary.
And thanks for that summary.
No problem.
Appreciate it.
Okay, we have 55 seconds. Very quickly, where are you connecting from?
I'm in New York.
New York?
UN Secretariat, yeah.
Okay, nice to see you. Kiki?
New York as well.
New York, okay. Melissa?
I'm actually based in Accra, but I'm on leave, so I'm in Geneva at the moment.
Okay, very good. And this is Sheila. Sheila is our coach who will be leading this session today. So we have a few newcomers here. I briefly introduced them of what we did so far, so that they are in the picture. So back to you, Sheila. You're on mute, you know that, right?
Yeah, welcome. Very, very welcome. Okay, so now what I'd like to do is, if I can manage, because I'm not a very techie person, but I'm going to share my screen and just go through what imposter syndrome is, or imposter thinking is, and how it shows up. Because imposter thinking is very amorphous in that it changes shape, it changes quality, and it can be really loud, or it can be there in the background. And I'd love if you would, as I go through this, you add your comments in the chat. I may not be able to see them, but maybe Marilena can every now and then relate what you're saying. So imposter syndrome is, as you can see, I've chosen this because it really is a mask. And it's a mask that we wear because if we, how do we do this? There we go. Oops. You see, here we go. So I'd like to start with, well, what is imposter syndrome? And I'd love to get your feedback on what you think it is. How does it show up for you? Because if you're here, there is something that drew you to this. And if I can talk while some of you write how it shows up with you from your discussions in the last 15 minutes, it really is a perceived fraudulence. It's an intellectual form of self-doubt. Yes, Ashan, you've hit the nail there. It's this constant sense of underperformance, of never measuring up. And it really hooks ourselves in the idea that we're not good enough, that we're not doing enough, and that we're not being enough. Alessandra says, not trusting ourselves as we should. Anna says, perfectionism, absolutely. So imposters, and I'm putting it in apostrophes, you know, you have insanely high expectations of themselves. And again, self-doubt is chronic. If there's one thing that imposter, it's all about self-doubt. And they feel that they don't belong and that somehow they got lucky. They feel undeserving of the praise they get for work. And they worry that someone somewhere will tap them on the shoulder and expose them as a fraud. So it really is hyper-focusing on weaknesses or perceived weaknesses, okay? So let me just have a look at, and we have lots of really good comments here. Not being able to say no, says Chitra. Michaela says, someone acting like it was you thinking bad things, but it's not true. And it's someone else. Collective thinking, family paranoids, fears, lies. Exactly. Okay. So if I just, so who suffers from it? Now the statistics go from 50% to 90%, but in general, I think we can take it that a lot of people suffer from it at some stage of or another. And the question is to recognize the thinking as it is, but not identify as a person to this imposter's thinking, which is obviously easier said than done. So what causes imposter syndrome, you may ask? So it could stem from childhood. Either you have very ambitious, over protective, or parents that or teachers that have really high expectations, where mistakes were highly criticized, or it was their standard was very high. It could be a certain types of personalities could be more prone to it. So personalities that tend towards perfectionism. There's mental health conditions. So if you're prone to if you're sensitive, you're prone to anxiety, or you have depression, etc. Those mental health conditions. But we're also looking at societal biases against gender, class, and race. And this is basically when there's a majority. So for example, if you're in a meeting with mainly men and you're the only woman, it's quite possible that, as a woman going against the grain, you may feel, imposter thinking, because in a sense, the diversity that you're bringing is not totally accepted. But also, we're seeing that a lot of work environments enable this kind of thinking, and I thought that was very interesting. Like, for example, the certain work environments actually reinforce imposter syndrome, and I have about 10 examples. So, for example, performance objectives and goals that are excessive and that are constantly shifting. If there are very strict hierarchies, if there is an up or out mentality, if there's a fixed mindset or a growth versus a growth mindset. And fixed mindset is very much black and white, mistakes or perfection. And growth mindset really talks about, well, anything that doesn't go as planned is a learning opportunity. It's not considered a failure. You have sponsors or mentors that can either make or break your career, and that is really talks to inequitable opportunities. You have unhealthy or very competitive teams. You can have stars or scapegoats within the environment, or cultures that actually punish or humiliate mistake making. And lastly, if there's poor modeling and expectations around self-care, as in no boundaries, that also brings it about. And it happened disproportionately in STEM fields. So science and technology, engineering and mathematics. But in terms of the people, it actually, this is where it breaks my heart, because it happens for high achieving, high performance individuals. So it's really the people that are the most conscientious, the most diligent, that they're the ones that seem to succumb to it. Okay. So there we go. So which type are you? Now, a psychologist has said that there are 5 types, and really it's about to bring some structure to it. As I said at the beginning, it's quite amorphous in that you could be a blend of different types, or you could be one type in different situations. So let's go through them. So we have the superheroine, the one that works harder than everybody around her to prove that she's not an imposter, and that she feels that she needs to succeed in all aspects of life, at work, as parents, as partners, as friends, and may feel stressed when they're not accomplishing something. So in other words, another way of calling the superheroine is actually workaholic. The second type is the natural genius. Now, when the natural genius has to struggle or work hard to accomplish something, he or she thinks that this means that they aren't good enough. They're used to skills coming easily. And when they actually have to put in some effort, their brain tells them that's proof that they're an imposter. Then we have the perfectionist. So the perfectionist sees one minor flaw in an otherwise absolutely stellar performance, or 99 out of 100 equals failure and therefore shame. So any small mistakes will make them question their own competence. So these very, very high expectations mean that it doesn't matter if they achieve 99% of their goals, they're going to feel like failures because they didn't achieve that 1%. And it's what's interesting is that perfectionism has actually gone up by 33% in the workplace in the last 10 years. And the driving force behind that is social comparison. I thought that was very, very interesting and something to be aware of. So now we come for the fourth type, which is the expert. Now, the expert feels the need to know every piece of information before they start a project, and they constantly look for new certifications or trainings to improve their skills. They won't apply for a job, for example, if they don't meet all the criteria in the posting, and they may be hesitant to ask a question either in class or in a meeting, speaking up, for example, at work, because they're afraid of looking stupid if they don't already know the answer. Because the main thing that they have is if they ask a question, they're actually exposing themselves and everybody else is in the know. And lastly, we're coming to the soloist. Now, the soloist feels that they have to accomplish tasks on their own, and if they need to ask for help, they think that that means that they're a failure or a fraud. So those are the 5, the superheroine, the natural genius, the perfectionist, the expert, and the soloist. So let's have a look at how is imposter thinking holding you back? And this is where I'd love to have you share. I mean, is it holding you back in meetings? Is it holding you back from going for that promotion or asking for a raise or going for that project? Are you shying away from visibility? Is it impacting your confidence? Do you look at others and say, well, you know, I wish I was as confident as that person?
Sheila, sorry.
Yeah.
We have a hand up by Wadzi. So we may want to hear what she has to say or to ask.
Sure. I just finished my train of thought on this.
Okay.
And then is it a satisfaction? You know, how is your, you know, overall satisfaction on how you're doing in life? And what is your relationships? How are your relationships at work? Okay. So Wadzi, go ahead.
I was just looking at your types of imposters, right? Are they age related? Because I think for me, I was a superheroine in my 30s and 40s with a young family, being the main breadwinner, being, you know, mother, wife, you know, and everything. So I was kind of a superheroine and a natural genius, you know, where if I don't know something, I kind of like, if I have to struggle at something because everything else comes quite easily, you know, then I feel like I'm walking in mud. The other 3 don't resonate. So my question was, is it age related? Because now I don't give a shit.
Well, hey, well done for not giving a shit. I'm not. I don't know whether it's age related. It could be. Certainly, when you're starting out a family, that you have all these different things to look at. But it is absolutely, for some people, it could, you know, go for the whole of their lives. But it's an interesting question to put out to others. Because as I don't have a family, I wouldn't be able to answer that as a family of my own, children of my own. So Afshan says some of us might be more imposter types than you mentioned. That's interesting.
Sorry, I just meant more than one of the imposter types you mentioned.
Sure.
But then I started listening to Wadzi, and I think I can relate with that.
Yeah.
I think in my 20s and 30s, I was going to save the world, and I had to save the world. In my late 30s and, well, no, in my 40s and 50s, I just feel like, okay, let's just get, you know, food on the table and pay our bills and make a little bit of a difference. Don't have to save the world in every aspect. Although Wadzi, I think you're still doing a million things.
Thank you, Afshan. I think it's now sort of, it's become learned, right? That it's become such a, it's almost like second nature to multitask, and I've got the tools that it's so easy for me to kind of, you know, multitask because I was running households, you know, putting kids through school, leading teams. So yeah, I think, yeah, it's a very interesting thing, Sile. So thanks, it just sparked my interest because I just see how I was a superhero, and then I was like, nah.
Not worth it. That's the great thing with it, age and wisdom, isn't it?
Yeah. I think that's actually a very interesting point that you raised, Wadzi, because the more I think about it, the truer it is. And that's why I was saying we could be multiple of those categories. And I think perhaps at different times in our lives, we have different, we take on different, it manifests differently. Sorry, but I see Daniela wants to say something too. Hi, Daniela.
Hi. No, just to echo, and I think Afshan, you led to what I was going to say. I think there's this part of, you know, this confidence competence relation, right? When I was younger, I actually thought I was that superwoman, not in a sense to achieve too much, but super that I needed whatever I had to achieve had to be up here in order for it to be even acknowledged. Now that I'm older and kind of focus more on that confidence more than on competence. Because I thought always, I come from a school of thought that good work will be recognized no matter what. Until I came to work environments where I saw some colleagues who were confident but not competent, but they were the ones who were seen as they know everything, right? So I think part of that, and I do think there is an age, not necessarily age in kind of age groups, but our own age and maturity in sort of what we are willing to put up with. When are we willing to admit that fixing just me and not the biased environment around me is not enough? And it's not passing the buck and saying it's others' fault. I think we definitely can work on our confidence. And as women, I think we could, because I think imposter syndrome tends to show up, at least for me, into that, like, you can't do it. And if you're telling that to yourself, how do you expect others to do that? So it'd be interesting to hear from you, Sheila, how do you actually see this? You never get cured, I think, from it. It's going to creep up, even though you have all the wisdom, you know, all the age and all the maturity, whatever it is that we can do. But it does have a potential to creep up like a flu at any point, and especially when our immune system is down and our defense mechanisms are down. I think I echoed everything that's been said in terms of that kind of, it moves along with us. It doesn't get completely dispelled. At least this is my experience. Thank you.
It's like washing. You have to wash every now and then, right? You have to wash every day to get clean. You just have to have those mechanisms in place to also recognize and not buy into that kind of thinking. And we'll look at that a little bit later. But I'm interested to hear Dr. Kiki. You have your hand up. You have the floor.
Hi, thank you. Please, just Kiki is fine. I'm so happy to be able to join this meeting. I've missed so many of these, and I see so many beautiful faces. This is a topic that I find very interesting. I was reading an article that I will share with the group about research on imposter syndrome. The two ladies who coined the terminology, I'm sure, Sheila, you know them very well. They're both in their 70s or 80s now. And then there are two younger researchers, women of color, who are doing some newer work around this. And I echo what Zanai as her point on perhaps it, and also Daniela, the point about it perhaps being linked to age and experience and exposure in the workplace as well. And you know, as you grow, and for me, I feel like you get to a point where you're doing so many things. Like, you know, just to share a little bit about myself, I had 2 kids in 18 months, you know, working full time, didn't take too much time off. The UN can be very demanding and all of that. So you find yourself being pulled in multiple directions. And at some point, you really just, you're like, you know, I can't be everything all the time, all at once. What's good enough just has to be good enough. And you give yourself some self-compassion and you keep it moving. But I also feel as though, in addition to the sense of imposter syndrome, 2 things. I'm definitely a mix. It's never been one thing for me. It's been sort of more like the natural genius combined with the expert, combined with the superheroine thing. But I also find that some of that has been triggered by being in circumstances where you are underestimated. And that's something that I've experienced, at least back in the day, where you find that people don't expect too much of you for whatever reason. You know, I came into the UN in my mid-20s, and, you know, at least cultural background, we sort of are forced, like, school is very important. So we go to school super early. So I was a full doctor and I had done everything by 23. And I got into this back and forth with DHR because they just couldn't accept my credentials combined with my age. And it was like, I had to prove all the time that I had the expertise that I said I did. And so it wasn't so much me being the imposter, but almost like having to prove myself in a context. And I think that also would fuel the self-criticism when it's being reinforced externally. So I wonder if you have, you know, some insights to share on that side of things as well. Over.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is one of the things that I mentioned at the beginning, that there are some environments that actually fuel or enable imposter syndrome. And certainly that would be it, you know, when there's a majority there, you know, an environment of men, and a young woman comes in and they really scrambles their brain for it, and you end up having to prove yourself. So that absolutely is one of them. I don't know if you were here when I was going through the slides and I mentioned the different kinds of environments that enable. Okay, so anyway, we'll send the slides to you. Yeah, we'll send the slides to everyone actually when we're finished. So Anika.
Thank you so much for this really interesting discussion. I wanted to go back to a point on your presentation about the causes for imposter syndrome. And one of the points on your PowerPoint related to that certain underrepresented groups might be more prone to experiencing this. So I think this is a really important point, especially in the context of the organization only just beginning to grapple with racism within the organization. On gender, we're a lot more advanced, but obviously haven't resolved all of the issues either. LGBTQ plus community, etc. So I was wondering if you could go a little bit deeper on that point, tell us a little bit more about how the more structural issues of discrimination and bias against certain groups can have this individual psychological effect on people. Thank you.
Okay, that is a really good question. And I don't have the answers to that really, because what I do as a coach with the various individuals that come to me is I look at them from a personal perspective. I don't have a wide range of understanding, you know, what happens at an organizational level. So it would be interesting to see if Kiki, if your research that you're handing out, if that is included in that, because this is meant to be a very, very personal, deep dive into how does imposter syndrome fit our lives. So I hope. So any other comments? Ekaterina.
Yes, thank you. I just wanted to comment and lower my hand, because I think also one of the factors you mentioned is the childhood and the upbringing. So I grew up in the communist, let's say, countries in Soviet Union and Bulgaria. So we were never like really praised. We were never like given credit for being like good or something. We were expected to do well at school, and you were only praised if you were exceptional. I think that was the only time where you could really receive praise from a teacher or from a parent. You know, everything was so. I wonder that also culturally, I think some cultures are more maybe prone to affect people, so then they later in life they feel this way as imposters. So that's my comment. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And it's true, when the bar is so high, you feel that if you must get to that level just to be accepted, you know, just to have that a bit of praise. Anything under that, well, it's nothing special. Yeah. And so how did that impact how you work?
I can just, okay, not so, but the example comes to my mind that like in Soviet Union, everybody could like go to musical school and play piano. And just because I had some talent, but I was not top. So I did it for maybe 3-4 years, and then I stopped because I was not kind of I did not consider myself having a future or anything. And then my partner, who's American, he's like, no, this is a great gift. You have a gift. You should have continued. You should now maybe revive this talent, you know. That it's a different perspective, you know. You have something special, even if it's not top quality or top talent, you know, I don't have perfect pitch or anything, but still it's something
it's
that
still
is
precious.
Yeah, it's precious. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like your husband is a keeper for sure.
Yeah. I'll tell him this. He's in the next room. Yes. So, and at work, it's the same. Like I worked in IT most of my life, and then it's like you have to be twice or 3 times or 10 times better than man programmer, and to be even accepted that in their minds that you are somebody to pay attention to. This is very honest.
Yeah. Great. Well, thank you for that. Okay, next, Turina.
Thank you. I'm called Turinayo, and it's nice to see everyone. It's been a while since I came to a WIN event because of the work schedules, but I'm glad that I made it today. No, I'm curious whether we can tweak this imposter syndrome to our advantage. For a long time, people have milked it, I think, the other way around, where men feel they're better for no good reason at all. They've just been told they're better, so they feel they're better, so they come to every meeting, to every workplace, to every event, feeling better, and therefore being recognized as being better. So my curiosity is, how can we then make sure that we milk this imposter syndrome to our advantage? It's about time, I think, no?
Yes.
Because it looks like for a long time people have felt, oh, me, I'm better, because they have this superiority complex given to them by some culture, by some societal, you know, view of how a better person looks like or does not look like. And I have a feeling that from what everybody else has said here, they do have very good, positive skills, but that make them feel they have this syndrome. And I'm thinking maybe there is a way we can actually make it advantageous. You know, so if you think, oh my God, I do too much, what about taking that one good thing out of there and making sure that it's the one that you milk to your advantage?
Yeah.
Thank you, and over.
Well, one of the things that I personally think is that we need to normalize doubt, or we need to normalize having a considered discussion that the person that is the most confident in showing that everything is fine, rosy, and everything is rainbows and flowers is not the person that's given the biggest platform. So once we have that, and I also, the other thing about imposter thinking is that, yes, there is that fear and self-doubt, but what feeds it is being in isolation, that we don't talk about it. Because at least in FAO or EFAD or WFP, if you start saying, oh, I don't know if I can do this, then it's very, very quickly you're shoved and you're put in another. So what if we start championing each other and we actually have these honest conversations? And in meetings when the male intern is repeating, if we can rally around our female colleagues and build them up, then also have allies in men, as men, they listen to men more, but have the allies in men to also be sensitized to this, then I think we can go a long way.
I totally agree, and especially on the question of equal pay, let's say especially for consultants. I think for staff in the UN system, it's a bit okay, but for consultants, when you look in the systems, it's so like very clear. You have a certain category, the men who are most likely Caucasian, high up there. Then you have the women. Then you have the men who are African or of color. Also, that then you have the women coming last. Why? They have the same skills, same experience. And if I ask someone, I've done this actually, I want, experts in this area who are women, and all the CVs you get are for the men, even from the women themselves.
Yeah.
We need to really, support each other.
Yeah. It's, the change is happening and the cracks are appearing, and we can do more to really flip the conversation and help each other. And this is one way in which we're doing it. So thank you very much for that. And Turinayo, lovely name.
Sheila, Sylvia has an interesting question. Oh, Sylvia.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Yeah, I have actually two. So I post them in the chat. So I was, interested to understand, but thanks a lot. Also, Sheila was super interesting. To what extent knowing what triggers the imposter syndrome helps actually to understand how to overcome it? I mean, can we find a way to change our way of thinking, even if we don't know the reason that are triggering the imposter syndrome? And then another one slightly related to that, it is how do we recognize how much is actually external and how much is actually internal as the reason, for the imposter syndrome?
Okay. Well, great questions. And I really, personally, I think it's not necessary to really understand the why, because then you can go into a rabbit hole, and that's a thing for therapy. I think it's important to see what's happening, and by having the awareness of this kind of thinking, you detach from it. Because you see, until you actually detach, oh, this is what I'm thinking. This is not necessarily true. In fact, most of the time, it's not true. When you have that awareness, you have that space to choose another thought that is more empowering, that actually helps you. Why, if you had a choice, would you choose to have thoughts that bring you down, that make you small, that make you not confident? So I think it's really important to have that awareness. And sometimes when you're in the soup, as I say, it's very hard to recognize that it's faulty thinking at the root of it. So
I think that one has to sort of exercise probably the mind, I think, to recognize, as you say, to create awareness and detach, from that. And with that, I think you become more and more used to this mechanism of stopping, maybe the thought or stopping, to think in a certain way. Yeah.
Exactly. And so the thinking, but the thing is that the thinking comes with certain emotions, and the emotions can get logged in, and it's very hard to dislodge it. So what we'll do a little bit later on is I have an exercise or meditation, however you want to call it, that can help.
Thank you.
Yeah. Any other comments or questions? Because this is a really good discussion. Daniela, you're saying it's disheartening to hear.
Yes, Sheila, so the discussion is on the difference in salary.
Okay.
Because basically a comment was made by a colleague that there is no equal pay in the UN system, at least in FAO, as based on previous salary and not a number of years of expertise for the grade. And then so the comments from Antonio is that maybe that is the place where we should start with lobbying. And
I think it's a great idea.
Sorry, for me, salary means staff and consultancy. The consultancies I've seen from HR side, I've seen men with far less experience gets hired because A, they ask, and B, they negotiate. C, they say, well, I'm not going to take it, I'm going somewhere else. And we tend to say, oh, thank God, thank you for honoring my application. We do, I think I go back to that confidence issue, right? But I think, Sheila, you said something else that I think struck a chord with me. It's about, I was thinking about the very nature of the word imposter in English. It's like a phony and a pretender. So is it the fact that, we see ourselves as pretending to be a computer scientist or a lawyer or a musician, or is it what Ekaterina was saying? I know how to play piano, but when is it good enough? And does it have to be at that level for me to have a entry-level job, or for me to have that? Like, you know, for me, it's like there's a multitude of dimensions here. It's like wordiness.
And it's not one or the other. It can be both, you know.
Both. Okay.
And it's astounding if you see the amount of very accomplished people that have imposter syndrome. They clearly have the skills, and yet they have this thinking that it's never enough. They doubt themselves. It's a chronic self-doubt, and can be very, very subtle, but it's always there. But also by talking about it, that talking about it sort of lifts, because imposter syndrome can stay lodged because there's the fear of being found out. So of course you're not going to say anything. You're going to keep these coping mechanisms, which are these 5 different types. And of course there may be more, but these are the main ones that have been individuals. And when the fear of being found out creates shame. And so you have these coping mechanisms to stop that. But if you actually stop and talk about it, that is like putting sunshine, disinfectant on the shame. And then you see that it's really paper tigers. So step 1, I know we're coming ahead, but you guys are the advanced ones, is the awareness. And the second one is really finding someone to talk about it, because when you do, talk about your whatever it is that's happening and that you're thinking, and have someone challenge that thinking, then that's when you see that you can really, choose a different and better way. Does that answer your question, Daniela? Yeah. Okay. Michaela?
Yes, thank you very much for this opportunity as well for me. And I'm laughing under my mouth because I'm thinking, if on the contrary, we are always thinking about the underestimating, and this is the syndrome that causes not effective shining brightly in possibilities because we underestimate ourselves. But what about if instead there are like imposter syndrome that works on the contrary? So that say that you are the top, you are the best, so you are acting like wonderfully, and so on and so forth. So I mean, this syndrome work on both sides, like for underestimating and overestimating? And I'm thinking this even because at the beginning, what you shown us, like with the superheroine or the soloist, so it's like 2 kind of attitudes that maybe becomes from 2 kind of interior perception. So I would like to know if this imposter syndromes works on both sides or just on the underestimation of ourselves.
Well, the root is you underestimate, and the coping mechanism is that you do more. Do you see what I mean? So the feeling less is what's driving the doing more, and the really trying to show that that you belong, that you can do everything, and that's why you work so much. And you're the superheroine. Does that make sense? Did I answer your question?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes.
Okay. As there's more comments on the yeah. I'm just looking at the chat there. Okay. Cool. So are we ready to do an exercise? I have 2 exercises, one that will help to regulate your body when you have when you feel that you're dysregulated, and the other one is to really take away those feelings that come with it. Okay, so with your permission, if there's no more, because I think I'm just conscious of the time, because we could speak about this for ages. And seeing as we have to stop at 7 o'clock sharp, how about we start with these two exercises? All right. So the first one, let me just show you. Here. And again, we will send you, this is so awareness is the first step. And I wanted to go through this exercise with you. So when you're feeling stressed or overwhelmed, what I'd like you to do is take a deep breath, or first, hold your hands together like this and rub your hand, and you inhale. As you inhale, cover your eyes and I'll guide you. So inhale and cover your eyes with your hands. And as you exhale, you drag your fingers to your temples. So drag your fingers to your temples and you exhale. Now inhale and you smooth around your ears and down your neck, and exhale on your shoulders. Inhale, put your hands on your heart and exhale. So this is a very simple exercise that when you're feeling stressed and overwhelmed can actually regulate a bit, and you do this as necessary. Okay. I don't know. How do I stop sharing? Okay. So the second exercise is more of a meditation, if you're all willing to try. And the second one, okay. So the second exercise that I'd like you to do is I'd like you to close your eyes and think of a time where you really felt that you didn't belong, that you really doubted your capabilities, that you didn't feel enough, that you were scared that others would find out that you couldn't do the job. And really feel those feelings and bring up the temperature, bring up the intensity to a 10 out of 10. And the reason why I'm saying 10 out of 10, so that you really feel the difference by the end. So now, as you feel those feelings, a 10 out of 10, imagine a bubble in front of you. It's a really big bubble. And in that bubble, in the center of that bubble is a magnet. And now we're going to activate that magnet. And that magnet is going to pull out of you and into that bubble all these feelings. And they all leave your body from wherever you have it stored. All these feelings are going all into that bubble because that magnet is drawing them out of you. Now, with your eyes closed, just put one hand up so that I can see that you're done. Okay, just one. Okay, now beside that bubble is another empty bubble with another magnet. And between those two bubbles, you have a screen, a golden screen. And in the second bubble, you activate that magnet so that the life force, without the pure life force that's in the first bubble, transfers to the second, leaving all the other gunk behind in the first bubble. And again, without opening your eyes, just put your hand up when you're done. Okay, just a a little bit longer. Okay. So now the first bubble, you decide how you want to get rid of it. Do you want to light a fire and it burns out? Do you want to throw it away? Do you want to place a bomb on it and it explodes? Does it just disappear? You decide how you destroy that first bubble that just has that gunk in it. And again, without opening your eyes, just put your hand up to let me know that you're done. Okay, 1 or 2 people. And okay. So now inside the center of your chest, you also have a magnet. And you're going to activate that magnet inside of you. And you're going to pull in all that pure life force from that second bubble back to yourself. All that pure energy, which is yours, is coming back to you. And when you're done, you just open your eyes and look around and breathe. Okay, so if you were a 10 before, how do you feel now? I hope that's a positive 10. Okay. So how is that? Anyone like to share? Sophie has her thumbs up. Lily, would you like, you have the floor. If you'd like to say them.
No, I would say it was a very good exercise because I think sometimes that, we get too worked up, and I think it's good that, we take a step back and we try to understand what's causing those negative feelings. And then like you said, think about maybe really what we are capable of, what we know we're good at, and to be more confident, to own our greatness, and to really not underplay our achievements. Because I think all of us always have some kind of doubt, like, oh no, I'm going to be discovered, I'm not as good as people think I am, or, oh, I'm going to say one thing, my career is over. So I think it's good that you made us go through this exercise, because I don't think I do it enough. I think I tend to always kind of just react, and not stop to think about, okay, let's calm down, let's really analyze the situation. And then you realize it's not as bad as you think it is.
Yeah, thank you. It really isn't. But it's interesting that when you're in the soup, it's awful. So it's always good to get an extra different perspective. Anyone else would like to share?
Yes, if I may, Sile, can you hear me?
Yes.
The rubbing the hands and then putting them on your eyes is actually having a healing power for blood circulation and the rest of it. Even, when you do all that in it, you are bringing that energy into you.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's all, I guess, about energy shifting.
Exactly.
On how you turn your energy into something, or how you are bringing that energy to you. It's actually the science behind it. It's like when you were, you tune your TV on the frequency of your TV channel or the radio or whatever. So there are these objects in the universe, and as you transmit, that object will receive and transmit back to you on the same frequency.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I don't want to, but think of $10 million. That would be great. Just joking.
Let's keep rubbing our hands for that. It's true. having, it's amazing how healing your own hands are. And in fact, Marilena and myself have a friend who really has, you know, there's a whole Japanese way of using your hands for healing. But this is a really simple way of regulating when you feel just that the anxiety in your body and you have to get ready quickly for either a meeting or an important what have you discussion, then that's one thing that you could do. And then if you have a little bit more time, you can actually really regulate those feelings and bring back your energy back to yourself. But there are many ways of handling this. And as we spoke at the beginning, I think it was Daniela mentioned, you know, it never actually goes away. But like anything, you know, self-doubt or that can happen from time to time. But when it becomes a faulty thinking that we don't actually put the spotlight on it and look at it for what it is and separate ourselves from it, then that's when we become embroiled, enmeshed with it, and have a harder time coming out of it. So awareness is definitely key, and putting a disinfectant, like talking about it with someone, either with your friends or with someone that you trust, that you won't be judged for. The important lesson, or if you take anything away from this session, is don't suffer in silence. You know, find safe people where you can be vulnerable with, because to entangle and deconstruct these thoughts and someone that will champion you, then that's the place where you can have those honest conversations. And those honest conversations are ones that you will evolve and grow. And that's a way that we, you know, if we can use those times where we have those imposter thinking as a pathway to continue to regenerate ourselves, to grow, to learn, or unlearn and relearn thoughts that can help us. And another suggestion I might give you is to really document your successes. Really have a journal just for your successes, big or small, and remind yourself, you know, of all those precious moments and precious times that these things happen, so that from imposter thinking we become a humble realist, that we accept how we are, we accept that we are work in progress and we're evolving. And that there's always room for improvement. And yet we're perfect in our imperfections. So as I say, it's progress, not perfection. So we have finished, and I'm very glad. I promised Marilena that we would finish on time, but as you can see, we finished with 6 minutes extra. I have created a group on Facebook for UN consultants, specifically on imposter syndrome. If you would like to join the group, you know, this is where I'll be sharing more techniques, and we'll keep the conversation going. Let me see. Let me see if I can quickly. Let's see if I can quickly give you the thingy. It's very, very simple. Here we go. Here we go. This is it. This is the group. And thank you very much for coming to the session, being so vulnerable and really engaging in the conversation, as you've made it the special session that it has been. And it's been an absolute honor to lead this workshop, and hope to see you soon.
Thank you, Sheila. A round of applause for you, even if virtual. I think you can get our hugs and applauses. I think it was really a very, very good session, especially to take the time, and you led us through the thinking process of what are we, what, you know, even just being aware of the thinking that we are doing that may be harmful for us and holding us back. And I like very much your point about sharing with others, you know, not trying to manage it all on our own, because that's never a good solution. So I think that's really, and of course, Sheila, but not only Sheila, or all our 11 coaches that we have within the Women's Informal Network are available to you to support you, to get better understanding about yourself and get over things. And so Sheila today presented this aspect, but we also have other coaches who are focusing on other aspects. And so this is why we are doing these monthly sessions where each coach is presenting a topic, and we may feel more towards one or another topic. And as I mentioned at the very beginning, the next one in the month of May will be with Alessandra Bianca, who is also here today, and it will be on how to mindfully how to be mindfully multipotential. I mentioned that I think Sheila is a multipotentialite. But so how can we use that to our advantage, and how can we feel accomplished by learning to canalize our numerous interests and skills towards multiple goals? So we haven't set a date yet. You will be receiving an invitation for that. And also we have talked about self-healing practice through our hands. The Jinshin Jutsu is a very interesting Japanese methodology. For those who don't know it, look it up on Google it. Basically, you're using your own hands and wrapping your fingers to get over anxiety, fear, anger. And so in any situation, if you're in a meeting, if you are driving, if you're in any situation, you can basically just by holding your finger and breathing, get over things. And so also, Sheila, your exercises, I think that you presented, we will have to practice. And I think when we are in a situation where it becomes difficult, doing the exercise that you suggested may really help us. And also, again, maybe once in a while, go through the magnet exercise, which was really very beautiful. So thank you so much, Sheila. You've really prepared this very well. And thank you all for contributing honestly with your experiences and your thoughts. And this is the beauty of our Women's Informal Network, of sharing and learning from each other. So to be continued, the discussion with a different topic, and I hope to see you soon, and stay well. And if you have any ideas also, please, for sessions, or if you would like to run a session, just get to Chitra or to myself, make a proposal. We're very happy, both Chitra and I this year, we have to a little bit step back from the organization of events. So we're happy if someone else wants to jump in and take over and, you know, organize something. And also thank you, colleagues in New York, for sharing this event, because today we had a lot of people joining from New York, which was beautiful. That said, thank you very much and see you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye. Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you, Sheila. Thank you,
Thank you.
Marlena.